The Toronto Blue Jays are in the running for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And if you're not familiar with the name, get familiar with the name because he just won Japan's equivalent to the Cy Young Award for the third year in a row. He's 25 years old. He's got incredible stuff. He throws gas and he's on his way to the major leagues, and the Blue Jays are in the thick of things. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, we've got to get used to saying that name, especially if he dons that Blue Jays blue in the near future. But we don't really see this very often, Nick. Now, this is a 25-year-old who has been carving up the NPB over the course of the past few years here. And now he's in his prime. He's a grown man, and he's being posted. He's being sent off to the major leagues. You don't often see that. The last time we saw that was with Shohei Ohtani, and I guess to a certain extent, Kodai Senga as well, but he was 29 when he got sent over. So this is a guy in the beginning of his prime years. Even after having all that success in Japan, his prime is truly starting right now. He throws gas. He pitched for Japan in the World Baseball Classic, and we all know how good that team was. We were watching them day in, day out. So this is such an exciting prospect. The Jays have been in the mix for a lot of Japanese players over the course of the past few off seasons here. They haven't been able to go ahead and get them, but I feel like this could be the one here, and this is one of the more intriguing Japanese prospects that we've ever seen.
Yeah, and looking at the report, before we get into that, make sure the subscribe button. About 70% of you guys aren't subscribed, and we're close to 10,000. Peter, let's get right into it. Ben Nicholson-Smith, we all know the article that he posted, and you mentioned it, and we've mentioned it. A lot of Jays fans know this. For the past several years, they've been linked to so many of these players, and I think this year might be the year they finally go for them. So this, Ben Nicholson-Smith has them as signing a potential option, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, to a 7-year, $154 million contract. We'll get in a couple of the other guys in this one here, too, because it's a bit interesting. We're going to focus on Yamamoto for now. Peter, that is an expensive contract for a guy who has yet to pitch in the major leagues, in the MLB, that is. However, like you said, his stuff speaks for itself. When you're looking at what he thinks the likelihood of this, he says it's very, very plausible, and he goes on to say that signing the 25-year-old would be a coup for the Blue Jays team that's been very active in, like you said, Peter, in scouting the Pacific Rim in recent years. However, it's not yet certain that he will be posted, but if he's available, there will be lots of interest. It's pretty common that he'll be posted at this point, unless things obviously change. His ERA is unbelievable. Like you said, he won the equivalent to the Cy Young Award. I'm excited. I want to see the Blue Jays go for him. I think it's time they finally make a push for one of these guys, and if nothing changes, he's going to be posted, and if he is, I think the Blue Jays might finally be able to get one of these guys after they just missed out on Shohei Ohtani and a couple other guys like Yoshida they were in the running for as well.
Right. And now I'm not sure what the rules are for international free agents when it comes to amount of years on a contract, but 7 seems a little light for me when it comes to Yamamoto because he's 25 years old. This is a guy with a proven track record in the second best league in the world. So you know that he's ready to go. And he also had success in the World Baseball Classic. So you could tell that he's not intimidated by these big time hitters that he'll be facing in the major leagues. So 7 years to me seems a little bit light, but maybe he wants that second big time contract when he hits the market at 32 years of age, which is another possibility, something that could be definitely real, but then you're banking on yourself having a pretty good 7 years in a row if you're at Yamamoto. So it's going to be interesting to follow if he wants 7 years or more years, or I don't even know what the rule is. I should probably be familiar with that. But Yamamoto, definitely an exciting prospect, probably the most exciting prospect that we've seen over the course of past few seasons here. And the other one that's going to be coming very soon is Roki Sasaki, the 21-year-old phenom who throws 102 miles an hour, who's got unbelievable stuff, who's got that splitter as well, like most Japanese pitchers do. So the way that these guys pitch is just different, and they're able to translate it to the major leagues for the most part. So I definitely want to see them make a push for Yamamoto because he's been in the news. And if you're a baseball fan, you know who this guy is and you know how special he can be at the next level. So go for it, Jays. Throw all the money that you can at him because this is a guy that's going to be a pillar in your rotation if you manage to get him.
I mean, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't throw everything at him. There's going to be tons of other teams, but one thing that, Toronto has an advantage for, players like this coming from these different leagues tend to, want to gravitate towards maybe a place like Toronto, obviously for a variety of reasons. But Peter, looking at his ERA, for those of you who might be looking at this and be a bit shocked, it's almost shocking, and I've seen it before. Looking at the win-loss, looking at the ERA, 1 ERA in 2023, a sub-2 ERA in 2021. It's unbelievable. He is probably, he's the best prospect since Shohei Ohtani for that. And Ben Nicholson-Smith goes on to say that obviously the Blue Jays are a little light on position players in this scenario, and that opens the door for Relvis and Addison Berger. But their rotation would be probably the best in baseball if they're able. I mean, it was the best in baseball last year, so if they replace our fifth starter now with Yamamoto, who would probably end up slotting up to maybe even our number 2 or number 1. Obviously, don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but he's an unbelievable pitcher, Peter. I see no reason why not. And I want to get any quick final thoughts on him before we move on to one quick other player we'll discuss.
Yeah, I'm excited to move on to this player here that we're going to talk about. But another advantage that the Blue Jays might have, they're a multicultural city, like you mentioned, Nick, and a lot of international players do gravitate towards Toronto. But it's the presence of Yusei Kikuchi. We know that Shohei Ohtani's favorite player when he was in high school was Yusei Kikuchi. He actually had a poster of him on his wall. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable to me. Looking at it now, looking at where the two players are at in their respective careers, but Kikuchi was a legend in Japan. He was the number 1 overall pick in the Nippon Professional Baseball League, and he was a dominant high school player, and other high school players in Japan gravitated towards him. They looked up to him, and he still holds a very close relationship with Shohei Ohtani. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds and to see if that has any impact on whether or not Yoshinobu Yamamoto wants to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, let's move on to this player. I'm pretty excited. You were talking about position players. This is a guy that would address that as well.
Yeah, also Ryu to mention as well. Obviously signed here, and he obviously had a great experience. So that could be another thing. But let's get into that guy. You may have seen him here. Willy Adames. Now, in this scenario, he threw Willy Adames in a couple of these trade scenarios on his website, or on his article, sorry, on Sportsnet's website. This would be acquiring Willy Adames for Espinal, Chad Dallas, Connor Cook, and Landon Morotis, a guy who we mentioned in yesterday's video as a potential top 100 prospect in the future. However, Peter, Willy Adames is a guy, and I spoke about it on my video a few days ago. It was solo. You weren't there, unfortunately, but Willy Adames, he obviously is one of the best shortstop defensively in baseball. In this case, he would probably be moving to third base, according to Ben Nicholson-Smith. You can see that here. Versus right-handed pitchers, he'd be a third baseman. And then versus left-handed pitchers, he would also be a third baseman. So this would be the Matt Chapman replacement. Peter, I'm a bit excited about this guy. You can look at his stats. He's had a few great years of OPS. Last year was solid. But again, he is a glove-first guy. He was 16th in MVP voting only 2 years ago in 2021 when that's an interesting MVP voting considering his season. But that aside, what are your thoughts on a Willy Adames reunion? You give Espinal a chance to get more playing time wherever he gets traded to, and then Willy Adames could be our starting third baseman who can also play shortstop at a very, very high level if Bo gets hurt, or maybe if Bo ends up wanting to transfer despite his vast improvements last year.
This guy has power, light tower power. I mean, he's had a couple of 30 home run seasons here, and or one home run season. I can't really read that too properly. Yeah, 31 home runs. I mean, that's pretty big time pop from the shortstop position, and I would like to see him play shortstop if he were to be traded to Toronto, just because of that amazing arm that he has and that great range, that great fielding ability. He's a shortstop. It is what it is, and I know you don't want to piss off Bo and you want to keep him happy, but at the same time you got to do your best to win. And I would move Bo to second base in that case. I know obviously Ben Nicholson-Smith doesn't want to ruffle feathers and he doesn't want to move Bo off a shortstop here, but I would do it. I would have to make that move. I would have to have that conversation with him because Willy Adames is one of the premier defensive shortstops in all of baseball. And similar to like Varsho, if you can play elite defense in the middle of the field, so center field, shortstop, catcher, and then you can contribute with the bat in any way, I mean, your value as a player just skyrockets. Bo is going to hit wherever he plays in the field. If he plays second base, he's still going to be a 300 hitter with 20-ish home runs and 80-ish RBIs. That's the kind of player that he is. It's not going to change. He's one of the more consistent hitters that we've seen. But if Willy Adames can play elite defense at shortstop, which he has done all his career, and then chip in 28 to 30 home runs, I mean, that's a 5-win player right there. So I love the idea of it. I think it works out for both sides. Espinal would get some playing time there as well. I'm not sure if the Brewers want to be heading in that direction. They had another below average playoffs as well, so it's going to be interesting to follow that. But maybe they want to reload on their farm system, and they do want to trade away Willy Adames, but I don't know what direction they're headed in here.
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty package for Willy Adames there. A couple of decent prospects, Chad Dallas, Lennon Morotis, and of course Santiago Espinal as well. But this might be something we dive into more as the offseason progresses. What happens with Santiago Espinal? What happens with that third base spot? And I mean, if they end up getting a different third baseman to play third base, or maybe they bring up a Relvis Martinez, and then you have, second base and shortstop open if they swap, Bo and Adames. It'll be very, very interesting to see where they want to play if they end up going for him. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know your thoughts right in the comment section below. If you want to see our video from yesterday, which is a very, very good one, click on your screen right now. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.